Okay, let's go. So, we've got Hayley Van De Ven with us today, our first podcast.
How exciting.
Yep. Hayley is a powerhouse in the real estate world. Mom of 2 boys, wife, multiple real estate business owner, regular guest speaker at high-level events, and known to enjoy the odd grey goose.
Yeah, I do love a grey goose still.
She's the director of Remax Results, Remax Bayside Properties, and one of the most respected names in the Queensland real estate. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. And I feel like it's a real honour to be your first guest. So thanks, Roscoe.
Yeah, no, it's much appreciated you've come on. Just a bit of a backstory, how I know Hayley. We met in F45 when I owned the Morningside studio, and we formed a close relationship pretty quickly. We're pretty on the same level, inside and outside of work, I suppose, and enjoyed the odd coffee. So that's pretty much it. You ready to rock?
I am. I don't know if you knew this, but when I joined your studio, I was probably at the absolute low of my life. I just lost my mum, and I had a 1-year-old baby, and I had really bad postnatal depression. And some days, you guys were the absolutely best part of my day.
Wow. That's I did not know that.
Yeah. Sometimes I'd be doing like those, what are those like snatch and grab things where they go above your head, and I'd be like bawling my eyes out, and luckily I was sweating because it kind of covered it. But honestly, you guys, the F45 community and you and Lisa and, you know, some of our really close friends that came from being part of your community really, really saved my life.
Yeah, well, they do say fitness and getting out in the open and working out does help with, you know, the negativities in life. And, you know, it's, wow, but I didn't know that.
Thanks, Dal.
Yeah, so, and here we are now doing a podcast on the Level Up podcast.
That's it, all these years later.
Yeah, so, okay, so let's get into it. Hayley, you've built an empire, raised a family, led people, stayed grounded. What drives you today? And you don't feel when you don't feel like showing up, like what keeps you going?
Yeah, I think I'm probably at a part in our business where I still love it so much that I'm excited to be there every day. And one of the big things that I kind of have is, especially like if you have a bad day, I always reflect on the fact that like it's a bad day, it's not a bad life. And you've got a new day coming tomorrow. So it's kind of like the ability to be able to wash that off and just go again. I think that is a little bit of a resilience piece, but at the end of the day, I've got really big dreams and huge ambitions, and I call them like BHAGs, like big, hairy, audacious goals. But that's what drives me. So like one little kind of bump in the road isn't going to deter me from getting where I want to go.
Right. And what keeps you focused? And what makes you decide on your goals? Like how do you do it weekly? Do you do it monthly? Do you evaluate what's gone wrong? And I suppose how do you learn from what's wrong? But that's where we learn, right? Is from what goes wrong, not what goes right. So.
Oh yeah, if we had a long list of fuck ups, that like mine would be extremely long. And I seem to always learn the hard way. Like I know with some financial moves that I've made in my business, or whether I've been scaling up or scaling down or making changes around different parts of our business, I've definitely learnt the hard way over the last 10 years. And I think that that's really served me quite well, because now I feel like once you've got that like cut or you've got that scar, I'm not going to do that again. I've learnt now. So it's like, okay, time to move on.
Yeah. What's one thing people misunderstand about successful real estate?
That it's really easy. I love oh wow, you've just popped out of nowhere. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I've only been hustling and working my ass off for the last 22 years. That is like nowhere. But to be honest, I think it's time and consistency. That's the biggest needle mover in real estate. The truth is that anybody that is doing really, really well didn't come out of nowhere. They've been working away, just quietly achieving probably, and certainly putting in the hard yards for them to start kicking some big goals.
Right, we see a lot online about, how did you become successful, and, what would you do if you had nothing and had to start again from 21?
Yeah.
What actually would you really do? And to make it work for someone to get into real estate, what do you think? We know there's no fast track to becoming
Yeah.
wealthy or getting multiple properties, right?
Yeah.
Along the way you learn and you figure it out. But if someone was starting from zero,
Yeah.
how would they do it? What would you advise?
When I was, or maybe 2012, I moved to Mackay. My husband was working up there, and I had been working in the Brisbane market for many years previously, but that was starting to take a toll on my marriage. He was in Mackay, I was in Brisbane, and it was kind of like I kind of pulled the pin on it thinking, okay, I've got to go to Mackay. I've got to be near my husband if I'm going to save my marriage. So it was really, really important for me to kind of make that move. But when you move into a new marketplace, particularly when it's 1,200 kilometres away and you're starting afresh, you are faced with exactly that question. So the truth is it's the basics over and over again. And it's like, because it's actually not rocket science, it's just work. And the basics are the things that get you paid. I think that something that I do really well is I'm very outcome driven. So I actually enjoy prospecting. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy the 1%ers. I enjoy going that little extra because for me, that's the kind of service or customer experience that I would expect if I was about to pay somebody $25,000, $50,000 to sell their house. So I'm really mindful of what that looks like from the consumer, and I'm always trying to deconstruct that. So for me, it is the basics. It's making the calls, it's making the connections, it's building a personal brand. I'm very big on our agents building their personal brands because I know the power of that. I've had people say to me all the time, oh, you're always putting stuff up on Facebook. And I'm like, if you knew how many leads I get from people that I haven't spoken to for the last 10 years, that just because they follow me on Facebook, they're like, hey, do you guys, manage property in the Gold Coast? Oh, yeah, we actually do. We've got about 50 there that we manage. Great, I've got a unit. Can you do that? Yeah, no worries. If I wasn't putting things out on Facebook, if I wasn't mindful of my social media, if I wasn't consistent over time, I wouldn't get those opportunities. And each one of those is an asset opportunity for us.
Yeah, right. And then even to flip it to the purchaser.
Yeah.
The first home buyer.
Yes.
How do they buy a house in the Brisbane market now?
Today's market.
Obviously, today's market. Yes, we 10K radius from the cities where you want to be buying if you can, but as you know, market's gone up. So what strategy do you think is the easiest to be able to acquire a property?
This is maybe a little bit controversial, but I love the idea of rent vesting for first home buyers. Wow. So buy an investment property first in an area that you can afford. Make sure that you've got high growth. Obviously, after 1 or 2 years, you've appreciated by a couple of $100,000, which is nice because that's the market that we all live in, particularly in regional Queensland, and certainly different regional markets as well. And then use that equity to get you into a home in Brisbane. So you might not have what you want now, but in a couple of years, you've got something that you absolutely love because you've done the hard yards. You can't save $200,000 in 2 or 3 years, but you absolutely can invest well, use that equity to buy again and either keep that investment property to continue to appreciate or sell it and obviously invest that money in your new dream home.
Yeah, well, even equity.
Yeah.
Equity is a game changer.
It is an absolute game changer.
It's next level.
Yeah. And I think there's always that aversion of risk. People are afraid to make that first step. But the best advice I was ever given is my dad said, what's the worst thing that could happen? And so say somebody buys an investment property and they then lose their job. What's the worst that can happen? You sell it. Okay. That's not so bad, is it? And I know that when I bought the Bayside business back in 2021, I was about to go into a massive amount of debt and I was like, fuck, this is a lot of money. This is a big punt. I'm buying a big rent roll here. There's, 40 people in this business, this could go bad. And my dad said to me, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? I said, well, I could lose everything. And he said, okay. So if you lost everything, what would you do? And I said, I would sell houses. And he's like, do you like selling houses? And I was like, yeah, I love it. And he was like, well, what's the fucking problem then?
Just go for it.
Yeah, a little bit of farmer's logic.
Yeah, right, okay. Calculated risk, as they say.
Calculated risk, but it's a really, really good question for business people that are making, big, bold decisions and next moves in their business. What's the worst thing that would happen? If that happened, what would you do? If that's not that bad, then what's the problem? He's like, can you pay your mortgage? Are you any good at selling real estate? Do you love it? Like these are really easy questions to answer, and it makes your decision really easy to make.
I'm going to go one step further again. So I'm very intrigued about the rent vesting, and I do see a couple of guys online about it as well, where they can live in a property for renting, but if they owned it, it would cost so much to pay the mortgage and then just cripple their serviceability for other investment properties.
Yeah, well, we've just seen old Cunny do it down the Gold Coast with June. Like that was such a great example of like, you know, whether or not that was real or it was a marketing PR piece, the like reality is that he was right. Those numbers didn't stack up, and he's far better off to probably going to make way more money by investing that mortgage repayment in growing this business as opposed to having it sit in his principal place of residence.
Yeah, and the online presence now as well of that deal has, like, everyone's looking going, holy shit, $12 million house, and now he's selling it, and you know he's saying he didn't lose.
Yeah.
But he's after gaining, I reckon, on social media with the all the attention it's after getting.
Absolutely, and if you look at the numbers behind that deal, he's right. And you know, although you know, it draws huge attention to the developer that sold it, but also to the to him and his social media channels itself. And ultimately, it depends what strategy you have, right? If you're high risk and high reward, then again, you've got to be making decisions that reflect that strategy.
Yeah, no, it's once again being calculated, right? So,
yeah.
But even before, to get the money, I suppose, to be able to invest.
Yeah.
I have a strategy for that, and it's a pretty quick strategy.
Do tell.
Right. Firstly, it's pretty simple. Don't spend too much money. Save as much as possible. That's basic, right?
Yeah.
But you've got to be willing to do what the next guy is not willing to do, right?
Yeah.
I work in the tunnels in Sydney. I've got traffic control girls making $2,000 a week.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me you can't make the money. You want to make the money, come down.
Yeah.
Get in the tunnel. Stand outside the tunnel. Knock on the door. Find who the client is. Just say you will work for free for a week if you have to get in to get that high-paying job, and then you'll save your money.
Yeah,
but
it's good advice.
I can see it, and I can see guys on the ground that are not doing it because they're spending all their money, but they're earning it because I'm paying their wages.
It's no different in real estate. You know, the reality is the work that you need to do at the very start is a grind. You know, you've got to make the calls, you've got to knock on the doors, you've got to do the boring shit that gets you paid. And that's also about cutting your teeth. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a stop-go girl or it's a teleprospector that's making cold calls every day. It's not glamorous, but it's step one in getting your foot in the door and leveling up.
What's the hardest truth you've had to accept as a business owner?
Oh, this is something that I have to actually consciously think of every day, that I have to accept that it's not always going to be perfect. In fact, I had a really incredible guy that has 25 offices that I was away with in the US last week on a study tour, and he said 80-20 house, 80-20. Like if you can accept that 80% of things are right and 20% of things are on fire at any given time, you're going to be okay. Because setting yourself up to 100% perfection is just a recipe for failure.
100%.
Yeah.
Even setting up, level up here, trying to get everything 100% right, it's not going to happen. So go with the flow and just make it work, right?
I gave that advice to someone yesterday and they laughed and said, what do you mean? It's like 20% fucking good, 80% on fire, which was very funny.
Well, it can be that way too sometimes.
Any given day.
So how do you manage overwhelm without burning out? Because I know you are hectic. You're busy.
Yeah. I just, honestly, I think because I love it, it's maybe not as overwhelming for me as potentially other people. And it's not to say that it's a superpower, because it's not. But I think the day that I wake up and I don't love it anymore, things might change for me. There's 1 hour a day that is my hour. So between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m., that is my hour. So whether or not I'm at the gym, I'm going for a walk, I'm sitting in my bed, you know, like having a coffee journaling, that's my hour, because the moment the rest of the house wakes up, all hell breaks loose, right? So you've got kids to get ready for school, you've got breakfast, you've got, you know, like yelling, screaming, you've got dogs that are weeing inside, you've got all sorts of stuff that you're like, oh my God. So I protect that hour very, very closely. And I don't as you know, Roscoe, because you used to ring me and be like, Vandy, where the fuck are you? And I'm like, I'm in the car. I'm not coming in today.
That was outside F45 gym.
Yeah.
You're 5 minutes late. You're in the car park.
I'm like, I just need a minute. But I think that's also being conscious of sometimes you need to be really kind to yourself. And I think that's something that I have learnt over time, particularly as a mum. Now we have 5 businesses, so it's just got more and more hectic as time has gone on. And I think for us in particular, juggling all the balls all the time can be really, really overwhelming. So I am also quite good at delegating. I have an awesome team around me, which has been the godsend. There's absolutely no way we could run the business that we have if it was just me. I haven't got any business partners, so there's been many times that I've thought about getting a business partner to kind of lighten that mental load or kind of just the pressure that's on your shoulders. I haven't done that, and I've just lent towards having a really great senior leadership team, all very well paid, all very well polished. Expectations are high, but they deliver, and I think that's what keeps us alive.
Saying that you've got so many people working for you, if someone wanted to work for you and had high ambitions and good work ethic, what would they need to do to be able to work for Hayley Van De Ven?
Yeah, well, I guess there's plenty of ways that you can enter our business. Young people can kind of enter and join a team. They do need to know how to hustle. They do need to be dedicated. They don't, I definitely am not one to let you off the hook. We've had associates that report to our head of people and our head of sales, and I'm like, fuck, you are so lucky that you don't report to me. But at the same time, something that's been really important for us in growing our business is making sure that we do have great people that we can go through the business. I've got, multi-million-dollar agents that started with me 9 years ago that are writing over $2 million and, highly profitable teams. So something that is really important for us is that we, can help people build a business, something that's sustainable. So not, that churn and burn. I don't want them in and out of my business for 2 or 3 years. One of the reasons that we have such high tenure, and I laugh that, it's like a barnacle on the boat. Once they come, they're here forever. Associates, that's a hard gig, right? And you've got to be willing to do what it takes to get to where you want to go. Property management, I'm a multi-passionate business owner, so I'm very passionate about the property management business as well. That's where there's a lot of wealth in your real estate business because that's your saleable asset, and it certainly has become like the engine for our business. It's much more about people management than it is property management. So people understanding that when they walk in the door, and then obviously high-performing salespeople. My jam is taking like a $300,000 writer, so somebody that does about $300,000 a year in commission, and teaching them how to make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, and leverage and level up.
And that resilience that you have.
Yes.
How, or are you able to pass it on? Are you able to get that from your team? Yeah,
it's a muscle, right? So the more you use it, the easier it is. And I think in sales, because you get punched in the face so often, you do have to have a thick skin. But if somebody's got to that point that they've got to 300,000 in GCI, they typically already have that. They've demonstrated that they've got what it takes. And it's easy for me to empower them to build their business and go to the next level. Ultimately, they already know how to list and sell. They just need me to teach them how to take their business to the next level.
Creating wealth through real estate. We've touched on getting a house. We've touched on using equity. Okay, how do you become multimillionaire or own multiple properties? Mm-hmm. What's your advice?
Oh, okay. So I've got many clients in our business that have large portfolios, and one of the things that they all have in common is they're all extremely normal people. So when we say they're normal people, they're not like racy, ridiculous individuals. They're not flashy. They're not in your face. They are everyday people that have made really good calculated decisions based on the numbers. So knowing your numbers is my absolute number one. Understanding that you can use that equity to leverage on the next one, also really, really important. But also understanding your structure. So we have clients that rent back their own properties, that own them in companies, that own them in trusts, that own them in their superannuation. Everybody's situation is going to be really different, but understanding having a good accountant and having a good relationship with your accountant where your accountant knows where you're heading so they can give you some good advice. But more than anything, it's just about getting educated and understanding that really in property, there's not too many things that they can do wrong. That's the reality.
Getting in, jumping on the ladder, getting in,
Yeah.
making it happen at your first property, I think is the start, right?
And it's okay to jump in small and go big. Again, consistency over time. There's some incredible buyer's agents out there that offer amazing advice. I follow a guy called Simon Presley from Propertyology. I love that he's so Australia-centric. He's not Brisbane-centric. So he's looking at all of the options. And I think my biggest advice to anybody that is wanting to get into the investment market is to look outside the norm. So I don't always just think that 10K radius is the only way to go. Particularly when you're starting. It's okay now. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but you've got over 10 properties. So for somebody now that's sitting here kind of asking themselves, oh, how do we do that? That's not going to happen overnight, right?
No.
But you've made really great decisions bit by bit and utilised equity and leveraged your, your hard work to just keep climbing that property ladder. And look, 10 is a massive, are you guys 12 now? 12.
Yeah.
You look at that.
10 and we're building to.
Yeah. So you look at that and go, well, obviously it's about returns, but it's also about capital growth. And you've got a strategy that's long term. It's not about overnight success. It's about building that wealth bit by bit and taking it to the next level.
Yeah, one thing's for sure, it's not flash.
Yeah.
We're not flashing it out on the street there. It's not it's, you do the work in the background.
Yeah.
But to be able to get it, you don't need to be earning so much money. You need to jump on the ladder. So for me personally, equity. 100%. This property here, this property has doubled in 9 years.
Yeah.
I used the equity twice. I used the equity to rebuild the house.
Yeah.
And then I used the equity to buy the 2 houses next door.
Yeah.
Equity.
But that's also a true wealth thing. You can have a beautiful big place of residence, but what other income streams or what other allied, income streams have you got that contribute to that? Because totally understand your principal place of residence is your tax haven, but what other revenue streams have you got set up that can power you and your personal wealth, but also power your business if you ever need to lean back on it?
Yeah, true. Well, for us, we've got our construction company.
Yeah.
But I suppose saying the equity is the way to go. It is.
Yeah.
But one thing you have to remember is your serviceability.
Absolutely. And you do get to a point where you cap out sometimes as well. So again, that's where it's really, really important to have a strategy that takes all of these things into account. So if you're a teacher and you're making, say, $100,000 a year, and you're going to get to a point where your serviceability is going to be tapped out. So you might have one that you own, one that your wife owns, one that you own together, whatever it may be. Utilising that equity is really, really important, but also shopping around to the banks, because not all banks are created equal. And certainly outside of the big four, there are some really great second-tier lenders, first-tier as well, but that are far more flexible and far more realistic to the terms of the market. They're not going to lose any money. They're never going to bet on something that's going to fall over. But my advice to those people that are kind of looking at leveling up their investment portfolio, getting in and going again, is don't be afraid to explore other banks. And
also on that, don't be afraid to get a second and a third valuation on your homes, because you could get $100,000 on each one extra.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's more equity to use as a down payment.
There's a thing called a smart val now, which is only a new piece of, work that the finance world do. But now a smart val where they just ask you for pictures of your house, the valuer doesn't even come out anymore. And so you can imagine that if you take shitty pictures, that, potentially what that looks like is that you've got a really shitty house. Yeah. I was like, what happens if they send an AI doctored video?
Yeah, Photoshop.
yeah. I was like, they get in there and renovate it online. But that's their problem, right?
Yeah, well, AI is taking off. So, God, it's let's see how that goes. Okay. Obviously, hustling is a part of your life since the day I met you. Yeah, it's. I think you have to be a hustler to make it happen. We've kind of touched on it already. And if you're not willing to be a hustler and you're not willing to take these risks,
Yes.
I don't think you're not listening to the right podcast.
Yeah.
So,
in business, certainly. I totally agree with you. Like, everything that you do in business is a risk. Your ass is against the wall multiple times. You know, if you're not afraid by the bass bill that you get, you're not trying hard enough. Like, that's the kind of like thing that I remember when I get one of those really big bass bills and I'm like, oh God. But, you know, at the same time.
no food for the week.
Yeah, I was like, okay, noodles, kids, noodles. Yeah. I'm going to have to cancel that gym membership. No, I'm just kidding. I'd never do that. I'll just donate and not show up.
I suppose I think I know the answer, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you ever want to quit, or has there been a moment that nearly broke you?
Yeah, in 2020, when I met you guys. Oh no, it was 2019 that I think I started with you guys at F45. But in 2020, my mum had died in like November 19. And I was at that lowest of low, like very, very low. And I was just like, I don't know, like it was like a $3 million business then. And so I probably wasn't walking away from much, you know, like in my own mind, I was like, fuck it, I'm done. Like, I just don't think I can do this anymore. And I was really, really fortunate to come across a coach that believed in me. And we hit some big goals for it to go from 3 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 17. Oh, it was 10 to 15 and then 15
business
to 20.
Coach.
Yeah, business coach. And, you know, we put those really crazy goals in place. And back then my goal was to be number one in Remax. So that was a big, like, motivator for me. I just wanted to be number one office. And maybe we were, like, number 10 back then. And so every month we would get the rankings and I was so defeated because, you know, we dropped off the top 10. I'd kind of been absent from the business for 9 months while I was doing chemo with my mum. And, you know, just trying to spend as much time with her as I possibly could because I knew that she didn't have long. So I think all of that personal stuff really got me to a point where it was like I would have easily walked away, And, you know, meeting Sherry and having her in my corner actually completely transformed my life, you know, like from a mindset perspective. I would go to gym every morning with you guys. Like you said before, if I was 5 minutes late, you'd ring me and be like, Van De, where are you? And so I'd have to get my ass out of the car and come in. So I was like, all right. I didn't want to, but having somebody that I was accountable to taught me 2 lessons. One, I work best with accountability. And I will show up for my friends, I will show up for my family, I will show up for my workmates, even when I won't show up for myself. So that's probably what got me through that really, like, incredibly dark time.
It's very interesting. Like, that's news to me, and I know you well.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, obviously not that well,
Yeah.
but you know, I didn't know that. So, but what I do know is there's a certain group in that F45 and we all clicked.
Yeah.
And it made the mornings, the 6 a.m. class, so much fun. Like, we were abusing everyone. We were abusing each other to work harder, but it was fun. Everyone was laughing and, you know, you were 5 minutes late, but we all made a joke about, we'd make everyone clap when you came in. It was funny.
It was.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely important to have that bit of an outlet.
And
you know.
I think it also, like, underlines the fact that a sense of community, whether or not it is a gym or a wellness centre or, you know, a good lot of friends that you surround yourself with. You know, you think about the fact that I might not have ever shared that with you, but the fact that I could go and be a safe environment, good vibes, great energy. Like, when I say that, you know, sometimes you guys were the best part of my day, that's quite like, fuck, all right. There's a lot of pressure. I'm glad you didn't know. But the reality is, like, that was the importance, and that's the stuff that, like, keeps people getting up and going and, you know, like, being accountable to someone else. Often when you can't be accountable to yourself is that stuff that just keeps you ticking along.
I suppose it's also because it's away from work. It's a
Yes.
circle outside of even your mentor.
Yes.
It's a circle with no pressure, and it's an outlet, but also you're exercising, which is so good
So
for the
good for
mind,
you.
obviously
Yeah.
the body, but so good for the mind.
Yeah.
And then even just we'd go for a coffee after. You know, it was.
And
You
even
could let your hair down, so to speak.
100%. Like, and you look like shit. You were, like you had just got up and rolled out of bed, and there was never any judgment. There was always lots of laughs, always lots of camaraderie. But they're friendships that like will last forever because they were just they weren't. There was no like nobody had anything to gain from it. There wasn't like we're just friends because they're going to do something. I'm going to do something for them, so they're being nice to me. I'm not paying anybody to be there, so they don't have to like nod and smile.
You're not paying for people to abuse you.
Exactly, exactly. Well, actually, like the beauty of that though was that like it filled up your cup, and it didn't matter what then got thrown at you. You're like, all right, good, we can reset and start again the next day. So yeah, the importance of that was massive.
How has being a mother of two little boys changed how you lead in your company? Has it affected you at all?
Yeah, I definitely think it has. I'll be the first to say that I probably have never been the most nurturing of people. So, like I think I'm really lucky that I got boys because we can like have a bit of banter, and like both of my kids are very witty and charismatic, which is cool. I really like them as people now. They're 6 and 10. So I was like, oh yeah, you guys are okay. But one of the things that I guess has probably changed my perspective on that is I still think that people can have it all. I still think you can be a mum and a business owner and a wife, and you can still, have the life of your dreams. Kids doesn't have to change that. You choose if they do or they don't. You're the only one that gets to decide whether or not you give up on your dreams for now, forever, whatever it may be. But I will say that, it does take a lot of work. There's no question about it. That when you guys got pregnant with Billy, I was like, fuck, Roscoe, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's too late. It's too late. And you laughed. But, I mean, at the same time, it's just a new challenge. And I think, again, like when the kids were little, I had a nanny, which thank God, because with multiple businesses, back then we used to own the Mackay business as well. So I was traveling a lot. Back and forth to Mackay. My kids have always just come with me on the ride. I remember when Geordie was 6 weeks old, he went to daycare, but at 6 days old, he came to an appraisal with me. And people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you're out of the house. And I'm like, well, fuck, I've got a business, mate. Like, what else am I going to do? You just carry on. And looking at that now, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like that would have been so unprofessional. But the lady that I was going to see was also a mum. She picked him up. She carried him around. She's like, do you mind if I, pick up the baby? And I was like, oh, second kid, sure. No worries.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about it. It's fine. And we walked around and I slid the Form 6 in front of her and she signed and I took the baby back and deal's done. Off I go on to the next deal. So I think the message with that is, yes, it did change me. It made me probably a little bit more sympathetic and a little bit more understanding of like what it takes. But it certainly didn't deter me or stop me from, having big dreams and just doing it anyway.
Yeah, the resilience again kicking in, I suppose. So
it's just another kid, Dal.
Yeah. If you could go back to your 21-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
This is an awful thing to say, but probably not marry my first husband. Not that he wasn't a lovely guy, he just wasn't the guy for me. And I think I probably would have been far further ahead in my career had I have not kind of settled a little bit in the early years. Because I think that I divorced my first husband when I was 30, and he's a lovely guy. Like, I can't even say a bad word about him, but he just wasn't ambitious. He wasn't driven. We weren't aligned. He was safe and he was warm and he was kind. And like I look back now and think, oh, well, it was nice. It was great. I probably went from like kind of a toxic relationship into that as like, oh, well, that's the opposite. So I made a safety call rather than one that was probably the right call. But you know, it's just to go big and go hard, because between 20 and 30 are like the best days of your life. Like I keep telling myself that 40 is going to be the best decade. But I look at it now and think, you know what, 20 to 30, you have no kids, no responsibilities, you can work hard, you can play hard, you can absolutely live your best life without really risk of anything going wrong, you know. It's like, if it does go wrong, don't worry about it. You've got all this time to make it up. But yeah, that would have been what I would say. Just go hard, go early.
It's kind of, you know, it's kind of hard to look, not hard, but when you look back and go, shit, I should have, if I hadn't known that in my 20s, it was like, you know, we could be so far ahead, but also understand, like what you learn, say, I just turned 40, and what I've learned in the last 10 years of being in Australia, if you could implement strategies in your 20s,
I know.
like you're so far ahead when you come to your late 30s.
We've got a lot of young adults in our Remax business that have bought their own properties. They've bought their first investment properties. They've gone really early. One is a great example. She was an 18-year-old girl that was in our Mackay office. Her mum lent her 10 grand. She saved and saved and saved. She stayed home. Like, she didn't move out of home. She stayed at home with her mum. And she saved and saved and saved. She actually lived in a she shed out the back of her mum and dad's house.
You're going to have to explain what a she shed is.
Well, it's like a little granny flat.
Granny flat.
But it's like the cutest little thing ever. I'll show you.
Back in Ireland, little sheds at the back is just like a little toilet house.
Yeah, like it literally was just like a 1-bedroom studio out there. Didn't even have a bathroom because she'd just go inside and use it. But you know, like, she scrimped and saved. She bought her first property for, I think, $220,000. So it was like a little 2-bedroom unit in Mackay. And I think she's recently had it valued, and she's probably 25 now, but she's probably got about $300,000 in equity, you know, from that call. And I look at that now and just think, you smart girl, I'm so, so proud of you. But guess what she's doing? She's buying another one. And she's still living at home. And she's just hustling and saving. And she's on 60 grand. We're not talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars here. So I think where there's a will, there's a way. And, you know, she obviously really wants to build her wealth in the future. So I'm really proud of little Alabella.
Yeah, good on her. Yeah. Wow. 60 grand, she's going for her second house. The thing about it is you can't save. It's very hard for the general person to save as quick as equity can grow.
Oh, they couldn't. You know, you couldn't save that much money. She didn't even earn that much money. So she certainly couldn't save it. But I just love the mentality of it. You know, like one of our girls down here at Morningside bought a little 2-bedroom in Pine Street in Bulimba, just a little unit. Again, she just used that because she was just single, 18 again, started on our front desk, surrounded herself with the right people, had good advice, made sound decisions. Again, was only on, you know, like 60 grand. So we're not... Well, actually, probably then it wasn't even 60, you know, but just made sacrifices in the early years, and she's just bought a beautiful new home for her and her new partner. So, you know, those early sacrifices have led to something that in your early 20s, it's not very often that you can, you know, live in Cannon Hill in a beautiful home.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Like when I came over here from Ireland in 2012, I had seen 4 years of the recession.
Yeah, wow.
And it was bad.
Yeah.
It was like, I think Greece was the worst and then Ireland was next. You know, people were seriously struggling. And then when you see people had bought houses for 200, bought apartments, a cousin of mine had bought an apartment for, I think, 249, and it went down to 100,000.
Yeah.
It took 10 years or more to even get back to where it was. Like, people have just been waiting and waiting. It's a totally different market. So to buy my first property here, I was shitting a brick. I was shitting.
Yeah, there would have been a lot of fear, right?
I was so, what the market crash is, I'm going to spend $500,000. We spent 475. It's like $500,000. It's like, oh, what do I do? Will I? And then, you know what I done? I said, if I rent in Morningside for 4 years is 100,000.
Yeah.
If I buy my house, if it drops 100,000 in 4 years,
same.
I'm no worse off. I'm not getting my rent money back. The landlord has it anyway. So if I rent for 8 years, that's 200 grand.
That's a very good point.
That's half the price of the house. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what was my deciding factor to get over that bit of a fear for my first investment.
Yeah.
I had come from working in the mine, so I had the deposit there, but that was up here. I was able to
Justify
it, make it, and logically go, let's do it.
Yeah. It's so true though, and I think that's such a great way to look at it, particularly for young people that are struggling with like, do I get in, do I get out? That's exactly it, right? And, you know, like when you break it down into like 4 years' time and $100,000 and how much people are, you know, spending on rent now, it really is a no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, tricky one now.
Oh.
Your favorite book or a book that's changed your life?
Oh. This is actually a bit wild because I'm only halfway through it, but already I feel like, one, this is exciting, and two, it's called How to Build a $1 Billion Business, and I will get back to you so you can put it in the podcast notes. But I'm only like maybe 5 chapters in and I am hooked. I started reading it on the plane on the way back from the US last week, and I have just like been itching to get time to read more of it, which has been insane. But it's been amazing because I kind of feel like $1 billion is the new million. You know how like everybody that's in the market's a millionaire now. So it's like, okay, what does a billionaire look like? And then how do you build a $1 billion business? Like, fuck, how cool would that be? So it's really cool because a lot of the things that, you know, like I'm reading in there are super encouraging, but they're also really affirming. There's stuff that you already know, but you need to put into practice. So yeah, I'm really hooked on that.
Yeah, right. So we'll put that in the notes, the name of the book.
Great.
So, best advice you've ever been given?
Oh, best advice was from my dad about what's the worst thing that could ever happen.
Yeah.
Again and again, I use that as such an abacus for decision making in the business and certainly in my life, you know, like what is the worst thing that could happen? And if I am okay with what the worst case scenario looks like, then I'm okay with that.
I had the same mindset for when I came to Australia.
Yeah.
It was get your permanent residency, because you come here on a working holiday visa, you do your 3 months out in the farm or wherever it was to get your second year visa. If you don't get sponsored or get your residency, you have to go home.
Yeah.
So I looked at it and went, I had a friend that came over with me and he left after 2 weeks. He just couldn't handle it.
Just
and I was like,
homesick, or why did he go?
The fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
So it was
Killer.
like just not, you know, it was a big thing for us to do. Come over, no security, just wing it, and he had to go. I'm going, I'm out. So
I came over at 17 from New Zealand thinking I'd just come for a year, like as a gap year, and I just never went home.
I had the same attitude of I can always go home.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can always sell everything.
Exactly.
So that's good. Okay, last one. Dream guest for this podcast. Who do you think we should have on?
Oh, gosh, I should have prepared for this.
I know that's a bit of a random one.
It was a bit of a random one. Do you know who I really love hearing from? And it's so bizarre, but I love hearing from like really genuine, down-to-earth, successful people that are just super authentic. And actually somebody that I think would be a really good guest is Gina Venzen. Do you know Gina?
No.
So she is the CEO of the Venzen Group. I'm sure you've been to many of her cafes and restaurants. But the thing that I love about her story the most is she's had so many incredible challenges as a young entrepreneur, and she just keeps rolling. So, yeah, I vote Gina Venzen.
Awesome. Well, we'll put that in the notes as well. And, yeah, well, look, I think we'll wrap it up there.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. It was first podcast done and dusted.
Woo!
Hopefully we've touched on a lot of leveling up for the audience. And
that's awesome. Thanks, Roscoe.
Thanks for coming.
Legend.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.